Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mindful Moments podcast. I'm Tracy, your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self exploration and discovery. So, today we are diving into a very powerful and liberating concept, and it's all about letting go, whether it's the weight of past regrets or the anxiety of future uncertainties. Learning to let go can transform your life. So let's dive in and together let's explore and let's unpack how we can release these burdens and embrace a life of peace and calm. Now, listen, we all have moments in our past that we wish had gone differently. Regrets, maybe we'll call them regrets, or sometimes it's missed opportunities, perhaps moments of embarrassment or failure. These memories can linger and they often can create this heavy emotional burden. And to understand this a little bit more, I want you to think about a time when you made a mistake that you just could not stop replaying in your mind. Maybe it was a job interview that didn't go well or a relationship that ended badly. These thoughts can become a loop. They can play over and over and over in your mind, and they have the ability to make you feel stuck. Let's do a quick exercise, and I want this exercise to help to get us inspired and really thinking about how we can let go of the past. So start with closing your eyes and take a deep breath. Imagine you're standing by a river and you have a small paper boat in your hands. This boat represents your regret or your mistake. Feel its weight and the burden it carries. Now, I want you to gently place the boat in the water and watch it float away, carried by the current. And as it drifts away, feel the weight lift from your shoulders. And when you're doing all of this, keep in mind and remember to remind yourself that you're not that mistake and it doesn't define you. Let it go. This is your time to allow that paper boat to just drift off. You can let it go, and you can do that right now. And, that's what we can say about the past, and that's how we can let go of the past. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, especially in the very first episode where we did a guided reflective exercise on letting go and releasing what no longer serves you. So definitely revisit that episode if this is something that you would like more in depth, or if it's something that you would like to go more in depth with. But I really like to talk about the future because it's so easy to get caught up in all of the what if scenarios. And in doing this, we can create these elaborate stories in our minds about what could go wrong. And we stress about things that haven't even happened yet. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be so far off in the horizon. And sometimes it's not even something that could realistically happen. But somehow we're able to, with our very fascinating minds, we're able to create stories. We're able to create tales, and sometimes these tales are lies and they're subtle and subconscious. And a lot of times we're not even fully aware of them. And knowing that we have the ability to change that we can do something about it right now is extremely powerful. At least it has been for me. And I've found myself in full-blown panic over events that are, weeks away, sometimes months away. Even going back to college, it's like years away. Freshman year, you're just in absolute panic about about, whether or not your cumulative GPA is going to be what you need it to be to get where you're trying to go professionally. And that's something that we have to acknowledge is really built into society. It's really built into the fabric of how we receive, where our inputs come from, really. And I've noticed that it's kind of like living in a horror movie where you're the script writer. And this kind of anticipatory stress can be so incredibly draining. And as I've mentioned before, the first step in letting go of future worries is recognizing when you're doing it. Awareness is key. And once you're aware, you can start to shift your focus back to the present moment. And to help illustrate this, I want us to try another exercise. So close your eyes again and take a deep, grounding breath. Imagine you're holding a feather, and this feather represents your future worries and anxieties. Feel its lightness. Now, imagine a gentle breeze lifting the feather from your hand and carrying it away. Watch it float higher and higher until it's out of sight. As it disappears, feel your tension lifting. The future, it's not here yet, and worrying about it won't change its outcome. Let it go. This is your time. This is your moment. And not that you need permission, but if you want permission, this is your permission. You have the permission to let it go. I've learned through experience that there's a cost to holding on. There's a bank that keeps track of everything that we hold on to, and it's a bank that holds the balance, and it is very aware of what we're putting into it and what we're taking out of it. And there's a cost that is associated with you hanging on and not releasing these things, these past regrets, or holding on to these future anxieties. And it doesn't just weigh us down emotionally, but it can have serious effects on our well-being. And chronic stress from these thoughts can lead to physical health problems. And the way that those physical health problems manifest is, a variety of ways. It could be headaches or high blood pressure, even heart issues. And it can also lead to burnout, as we've already discussed in a previous episode. But overall, it does leave you feeling exhausted and depleted. And that bank that is holding all of these thoughts, it truly does keep record. It doesn't go without being checked. So let's say that we're all on the same page at this point, and everyone agrees that we should let go of those thoughts that no longer serve us, let go of those grudges. I know. I love me a grudge. That used to be me. And we know now at this point in our journey, we know that all of those thoughts and all of those grudges, all those feelings, all of those shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and all of those things that we're anxious about or having that anticipatory stress for, what's to come in the future. We know that those things don't serve us, right? We know that it is in our best interest to embrace the present moment and to be in the present moment, right? And at this stage, we also understand and we know that a lot of this process we can really navigate by starting with mindfulness. And I realize I haven't given a comprehensive definition or, overview of what mindfulness is. And that's intentional because I'm not the expert in all of that. I'm not the expert in mindfulness, but I'm sharing with you what has worked for me and what I've done. And a big part of this is knowing that at the core of it, mindfulness is being fully aware and engaged in the here and now. So it doesn't mean, ignoring the past or the future, but instead it's about acknowledging them without letting them control you. So it's about you being able to have the power to control the way that you view these different aspects of your life. It's about you being able to shift your perspective in a way that empowers you and leaves you feeling inspired and ready to continue to tackle the rest of your day, the rest of your week, whatever it is. And this is what I want to do. Next time you find yourself spiraling into past regret or future worry, try this, okay? Pause, take a deep breath, and focus on your surroundings. Notice the colors, the sounds, the sensations. Bring yourself back to the present moment. Bring yourself back. Give yourself permission to be here right now. Let's do this together. Wherever you are, look around and identify 3 things you can see, 3 things you can hear, and 3 things you can feel. This simple exercise helps to ground you in the present. It helps in pulling you out of the mental loops of the past and the future. And here's the kicker, y'all, is letting go is an act of self-love. It's not selfish per se. It's selfless. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of the past and fears of the future. It's about allowing yourself to fully experience the present. And when you let go, you open up space for peace, for joy, and a deeper sense of freedom. I can't put it into words. I can tell you that it is one of the most profoundly liberating practices that I've ever discovered and ever put into my actual state of being. It has been life-changing for me. And I know that it will be for you. I know that it will be, because this is what our natural state is. Our natural state is not about the past or about the future. Our natural state as human beings and, as animals is to be present, is to be conscious awareness as we know it, as we feel it, as it exists in this moment, right now, today. So feel that, be in that. And I really want to encourage all of you this week, and perhaps it'll be a challenge of sorts, but who knows. And this week, I want you all to notice whenever you catch yourself dwelling on a past regret or a future worry, and pause, okay? Just pause and embrace that pause. And when you're sitting in that pause, or once the pause has ended, I'm one of those, want to do the pause first and then I'll think about the exercise. And that's generally a good practice when doing these practices. But I want you to pause and do one of the exercises that we practice today. And there's a reason that we call these practices. There's a reason that in yoga and meditation and a lot of these different ways of exercising your physical body as well as your mental space, we call those practices because they do require that you continue to strengthen strengthen and reconnect. And sometimes even, forming those connections to begin with is what you'll be doing. And just as you would practice a sport or a craft, or like me, practice, preparing for a podcast, you're going to want to do that with this as well, because the practice of doing it is what helps your brain. It's what helps your brain to make those neural connections and to form those pathways and to rewire itself. And it requires that you intentionally work on this so that it becomes more natural, and so that it becomes something that you don't have to think a whole lot about. You can just know that this is what you need to do. You find yourself having those looping thoughts, and then you remember that none of that has happened, or all of that has already happened, and where you are right now is where you are right now. And if you can be in that, if you can focus on what you can tangibly hear and see and smell and touch right in this very moment, that will help to bring you back here. It'll help you in letting go of those thoughts and those feelings that just don't serve you. They're things that you want to let go, but you haven't figured out how, and this is how. And I can't put enough emphasis on the remarkable ability of your brain, and the way that neuroplasticity has the ability. It means that you have the ability to change the way that you think, to change the way that you feel, and ultimately to change the way that you show up in this world and the way that you exist. And at the end of the day, the whole reason for us even doing all of this is because we want to be who we are in our completeness. We don't want to show up as bits and pieces. We don't want to be fractured, and we don't want to be false representations of who we are, because the beauty in who you are, in case you needed to hear this, in case you haven't been told, the beauty in who you are is that you're you. It's because you have this unique thing about you. You have something that no one else has, and we need that. We need it, and we need to cultivate more acceptance around all that is. And I'll be the first one to tell you that if you can truly accept what is, then it's the ultimate form of self-compassion, self-love, self-liberation. And that's always my favorite. It's like someone else can tell you something wonderful. Someone can tell you like, oh, Tracy, you're so great with words. You're so inspiring. You're, so helpful. And all of that is it means a lot. Of course, it's flattering. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy. But there's something, I'm going to keep saying it, there's something truly liberating and freeing about granting yourself that permission and granting yourself that acceptance. And I know, at least in my life, a lot of the Christian doctrine that I grew up around, and that I was reared in the church. And I remember, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of the media and stuff where there are people who have been wronged. They've had some sort of, atrocity that has gone on and that's happened to them. And it's truly terrible. Like some of the most tragic circumstances and experiences that I could ever imagine. And these people will go on and talk about how they forgive the perpetrator. They forgive the person who wronged them. And I could not wrap my head around that. I was like, how could you forgive someone who has done something so terrible to you? Like, and maybe not even to you, but, something so terrible to your child or to a loved one. And it's like, I have a set of choice words for those types of people, and I'm not going to share them right now. I'm going to stay focused on this, but the people in the church and the people, I'll use my parents for example, because they are extremely, they are our foundation as a family, but also as a community. My parents are the most loving and giving people. I love them so very much for who they are. And they're able to just forgive, they're able to forgive people, forgive not just people, but it's like they don't hold the people themselves personally responsible, not responsible, but like personally, they don't have any vendettas against people. And they're probably the first people that I've seen this whole letting go being demonstrated, and they didn't even know it. Like, they didn't know that they were teaching me this, and I didn't even know that it would help me out later on in adulthood. But now I understand what they were doing. I understand that by forgiving and by offering up forgiveness, even in the worst of circumstances, people are not doing that. They are not doing that for the other person necessarily. I mean, even if the other person hears that my parents are forgiving them and that they're being forgiven, that's never mind all of that. The forgiveness is ultimately for the people who's giving the forgiveness. It's for my parents, it's for me, it's for you, it's for us, because it frees up that space where we were holding on to all of this hurt and all of this sadness and regret and pain. And we're almost holding on to it in hopes that it would do something. And the reality is that pain doesn't do anything. It just sits there. It holds space. It consumes your energy and all of you. And it prevents you from being able to go forth and go out into the world as your full and complete self. And that is you giving your power away. That is you just putting your power on a silver platter, on the nicest china, okay, and just passing it to that person or giving it to that experience. Before we wrap up today, I want to share a powerful thought on forgiveness. And I feel like it's related. I feel like it's relevant here. And there's a saying, and I may butcher it a bit, but it goes something like, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And this saying is often attributed to Buddha, but its wisdom is universal. It expands across all genres of ways of living. And when we hold on to past hurts and past resentments, we're the ones who suffer. Frankly put, it's us. We're the ones who hold on to that. We're the ones who have that space that's filled with past hurts and resentments. And by letting go and forgiving, by letting go and releasing, we free ourselves from that burden and we make space for peace and evolution. From the bottom of my heart, I truly want to thank all of you for joining me today on this journey of letting go. And I want you to remember, you have the power to release the burdens of the past and the anxieties of the future. By embracing the present moment, you can find true peace and calm. If you enjoyed this episode, please just share it with someone who might need a little extra calm in their life. And if you found any of this helpful, please do subscribe and join us over at houseofdivinity.store, and that's where you can find more insights on living a mindful and fulfilling life. And it's also where I'm going to be sharing resources and information in a community format and in a community forum so that we can all connect and we can come together to learn strategies, to get to know one another, you know? Until next time, take care of yourself, stay mindful, and remember that your peace is your power. I'm Tracy, and this has been Mindful Moments Podcast.